Hello guys, every good name is taken here and welcome to another video. And today we have something, let's call it special. And as you can see from title and thumbnail, today we are going to list all of the tanks existing in-game right now via the alphabet. And for that we of course have to have some rules. First of all, numbers are first, after that the alphabet, obviously. Any dots or something like that is not gonna count. It's similar to a spacebar. Only tanks that are or were playable are on this list, and the names that I've used are those that are displayed on Blitz, which is the one I used to make this video. The Roman numbers are also the same as the Arabic ones in the names, so that's how I sorted everything. And before we start, this is a very long video. I will have probably background gameplay, I hope, because I don't know how long this will be. And there are some tanks missing. I've scanned this whole entire list 5 times or even more, and I couldn't find the ones missing, so if you know, put them in the comment section down below. And yeah, that would be really grateful. And so let's get ahead. And also I will talk a little bit about the tanks, just saying something. So the first one on the list is the 122 Glacial, which is a tier 8 Chinese premium tank. It is similar to those that are Russian, though the lower plate is much smaller, so it's quite strong in hold down positions, and the gun is a usual 122. The next one on the list is the 121B, which is the tier 10 premium Chinese medium tank. It was a great tank, and I think in sale once. It is a very amazing tank. The gun is very good. Yeah. The next one is the 59 pattern. It is the tier 8 Chinese premium tank, next to some others which we will come to later. And it has a 90mm. It has quite a huge hedge on top, though I think the credit coefficient is quite nice. Turret armor as well, but the mobility is a little bit lackluster. The next one on this list is quite a controversial one because it got nerfed, buffed, and nerfed again, which is the A20, and it is the tier 4 Russian light tank. The next one is the A32, which is the Russian premium medium tank, though it is collectible now I think, and very bad, so I can't recommend it. The next one after that is the AC4 Sentinel, which is one of the more recent event tanks that you were able to achieve. I've made a review about that, so no need to talk about that tank here. After that is the Alecto, which is, I believe, also an collectible now. It is a tier 4 British TD. The AMX 12T is starting for the first French here, and it is an auto-loading tier 6 light tank. It has great mobility, though marginal armor as a light tank obviously, and so do the following, which are the AMX 1375, which is a premium tier 7 French light tank. Then we have the regular counterpart, the AMX 1370. Wait, the one before was the 57, now we have the 75, both tier 7. After that is the AMX 1390, which is a great tank, very nice gun, very nice mobility, amazing camouflage. I can recommend it. After that we have the tier 9 French premium, which is the AMX first prototype. After that the tier 10 premium, which is the AMX 30B, which is one of the, in my opinion, best looking tanks in the game, and really hard to get as it was only in crates once. After that we have the tier 2 medium tank, the AMX 38, which is also in the French tech tree. The AMX 40 is the next one on this list, which is a tier 4 medium tank, also great armor, otherwise also known as the Duck. And if you don't know why, then you haven't played this game long enough. The next one on this list, and one of the tanks that got buffed recently, the AMX 5100, a tier 8 French autoloader, a heavy. Even though the armor doesn't suggest it, it's a very powerful tank. I really enjoy it, and if you want to learn autoloading gameplay, this is a tank to go to because it teaches it very well, and it is not forgiving, so you will learn it even better. The next one, same concept, AMX 5120, the tier 9 version, and the top tier tank, the AMX 50B. After that, we go to the TDs, and we have the AMX AC 46, the tier 7, which uses a 105. It is similar to the Yak Panther, which we will come to in a bit, and yeah, has no armor basically. Then, the one tier higher, we have the AMX AC 48, which is the tier 8 French TD. It has a 120mm, I believe. It has quite some speed on itself. It is quite trollishly armored if you cannot hit the weak spots, and from what I've seen, it can be a very powerful tank. After that, we have one of the other event tanks that you were able to get for free, I think in last year's summer, which was the AMX CDC, which is a tier 8 French premium tank. After that, one of the most trollish tanks in this whole entire game, the AMX ELC Biz at tier 5, also a very amazing tank. If you don't have it, grab one yourself and maybe play with it a bit around in training room, because it can be a hell lot of fun. And getting away from all these autoloaders, we have the AMX M445, which is a regular tier 7 French heavy with basically no armor. It has a comparable gun to the Tiger 2, has more mobility though, but less armor. And yeah, it lacks a bit in comparison to the Tiger, actually. After that, we have the AMX M449, which is one tier higher and premium, and it actually has armor. Who would believe it? It's not so long in the game yet. It has quite a lot of frontal armor, though the side and weak are again quite weak, so keep your front to your enemies. After that, we have another Brit on this list, which is the Angry Connor. I believe one of the highest credit coefficients in this game, with over 200%, if I'm not correct. If I'm correct. Don't quote me on that though. It is a tier 5 premium British tank, a tank destroyer, and quite unique because it goes backwards faster than forwards. After that, another Frenchie, which is the AL44. After the tier 6 heavies got buffed, it is again a very powerful tank and might be seen even more now in tier 6 tournaments. So definitely I would recommend you to learn how to penetrate or how to play against it, as it is very powerful. After that, we have one tank I found quite interesting to play, which is the ARLV39, which is quite unique in its playstyle due to the shape of the tank. Though I don't want to spoil anything, so just go into that tank with no impression at all and try it out yourself. Both of these tanks that I just named, by the way, tier 6. Then after that, I think we have our first Russian TD, which is the 81, which is collectible now, so you cannot get it anymore unless you had it already and didn't sell it. It is a Russian tier 2 TD and not very good. After that, we have the 82, finally again some Brits, and it is a very well armored tier 5 British tank destroyer, and with a rapid firing gun, though the penetration is a bit bad. After that, we have the 87, which is the tier 7 in that line, with a very amazing gun. The penetration is great, the DPM is great. It has a little bit more armor, but also a little bit more weak spots, and yeah, the same as the 82, no traversable turret, so you can get flanked quite easily. The 88 after that is the tier 6, so in between the 82 and the 87, and it is the tier 6 tank, and it has less armor, worse gun, and it is one of the worst tanks to grind stock. After that, one of the best tanks in this line in my opinion, the AT-15 with an amazing gun. Both the stock and the top gun have very great DPM, very great penetration. It has quite quick traverse speed actually, so you cannot get flanked that easily, and the armor is very well rounded as well. After that, we have the premium version, which is the AT-15A, which is one tier lower and was available in the Triumphant event, if any of you maybe got that tank. After that, we have our first tank starting with B, which is of course the B1, a tier 4 French heavy tank, with quite a lot of side armor actually. If you side scrape that thing, it will be very well armored if you are in a lower tier matchup, so look out and shoot it in the lower front plate to penetrate. After that we have the Badger 25T, the only tier 10 light tank in this game, and arguably one of the better tier 10s with its magazine, and I think it was also a little bit buffed recently with the increase of shells that the tank can have, which it struggled with earlier. After that we have the tank that comes before, which is the Badger 25T AP, which is just a tier 9, a little bit worse in pretty much every aspect, but still a great tank, though it can be quite frustrating if you don't quite know how to play it yet, since it's not forgiving at all. And to the last heavy tank of the French line, I believe, the BDR G1B. It has a very great 90mm with 225 alpha damage, a good amount of penetration, a little bit of speed, a little bit of armor, though not really much of anything except really the alpha damage. So it's mediocre in most cases. After that we have the Black Prince, which is a quite strong tier 7 heavy tank with a good penetration, very nice DPM, and overall there's not really much to say about it actually. It's just a very slow, well-rounded armored tank. After that we have the BT2, which is the Russian tier 2 light tank. After that follows the BT7, and then the BT7 artillery, which are basically all played the same, aggressive with carefulness, of course, since you don't have any armor whatsoever. And after that comes the BTSV, which I don't really know a lot of since I have rarely seen it yet, which is also a tier 3 Russian, but it is a premium and or collectible. I don't know how they turned it yet, but it has a little bit more armor and quite an interestingly shaped hull, so look out for when you shoot at one of these things. After that we have the Carnarvon, which is a very good hull down tank and has amazing penetration with very good accuracy, though with 190 a very low alpha damage for its tier, so it's not a good trader. You have to play peekaboo and try to not get shot, so use your turret armor wisely. After that we have the medium tank of that kind, which is the Centurion one, which has the same gun, better reload though, and I think, and amazing penetration, a good mobility, but no armor except a little bit in the turret, though 10 degrees of gun depression if I remember correctly, so it is a good ridgeliner. After that we have the Centurion 7-1, which is one of the tanks I want the most because of his hash gun. The top gun is just amazing. I mean, the reload is not the nicest, but if you fire hash at your enemies and you penetrate, it's just so satisfying feeling. So all I gotta say to the tank is shoot hash. After that we have the Chewy, which was bumped up a tier in update 5.5. Usually or originally a tier 5, now a tier 6. Still quite strong, but of course it got nerfed in some aspects, but also buffed in some. It is kinda able to keep up with the tier 6 mediums, so yeah, just be careful when playing with it, since you have no armor and can get a cheat quite easily. After that we have one of the latest tanks in this game, which is the Challenger, which is also one of the weakest in his line, or arguably the weakest. After that we have the Charioteer, which got nerfed massively in the last patch, but it's still a strong tank if you know how to play it, in my opinion. After that we have another possible event tank, but it was also in shop for a little bit, I think once or twice, which is the Chieftain, the tier 8 British one. And after that, of course, the Chieftain M6 or MK6, which is the tier 10, which was, I think, in crates once, and also once available for, I gotta lie, 25,000 gold, which is quite a lot. But it's a very great tank with a powerful gun, and yeah, I don't think I need to say much about it. And the next is actually quite interesting because we have two tanks with the exact same name, which is the Chihas, which are the Chinese version and the Japanese version. They are basically the same. I guess they are just a little bit different in some aspects, but not a lot, and both tier 3. So yeah, that's all to say about these two. Then we have the Chi-He, which is the tier 4 Japanese. After that the Chi-Ni, the tier 2, and the Chi-Nu at tier 5. The Chi-Nu Kai at tier 5 is a premium though. And all of these are played quite similarly. You gotta be careful, not play too aggressively since your rate of fire is not so good. The penetration also a bit lacking in comparison to others. But overall these are all good tanks to play, but not bad. After that we have the Chi-Ri, which is a very huge tank with little to no armor, so you can get HE quite easily, even in the front at times, and it has a very unique gun though, in my opinion, with a 3-shot autoloader, pumping out damage very quickly. Also the interclip reload, not too bad, and also the reload of your entire clip with, I believe, 9 seconds, is very strong. After that we have the Chi-To, which is 1 tier lower at tier 6, also in the Japanese line, same as the Chi-Nu, played carefully and you won't make too much mistakes. Now we have one of the more controversial tanks again with the Chrysler K. Good armor, but bad penetration, so you need to fire premium rounds more often than not, resulting into completely neglecting the fact that it's a premium tank. So yeah. After that we get to the Churchill series, starting with the Churchill 1, which is a very nice tank at tier 5 with its very strong top gun. Has a good penetration, okay reload, and quite a bit of armor, though the turret is quite weak. The same is for the Churchill 3, which is a Russian tier 5 premium for some reason. After that the tier 6 British heavy, which is the Churchill 7, which is pretty much based or played the same as the Churchill 1, it just has now turret armor, and it got overall a bit better. And now we have one of the most ugliest tanks, which is the Churchill GC, the game carrier, the garbage carrier, however you want to name it. It is quite interesting and quite unique, though it is collectible now, so you cannot get it anymore. Which is quite sad, because I already wanted to have one. After that we have a premium, which is the Churchill MK6, which is basically a Churchill 6 S7 with a bit less armor, but a better gun, I believe. It was in the shop once or twice, but it's not worth it basically, if you have the Churchill 7. After that we get to the Comet, which is one of the best tier 7 mediums, if not, in my opinion at least, the best tier 7 medium, because it has 12 degrees of gun depression. It has the highest DPM of all tier 7 mediums, together with the T23E3. It has quite a bit of turret armor. It is not as slow as it looks, and it is overall a very good tank in my opinion. And we get to another tank that is quite similar in playstyle, but has way more armor, a way bigger gun, which is the Conqueror, the tier 9 British heavy tank, with a 400 alpha damage, a very good penetration, very good aim time and accuracy, though the armor can sometimes be a little bit meh in the hull, though the turret is quite strong. So if you get this thing hull down, pump hash into your enemies and you will be fine. After that we have also one tank that got nerfed quite a bit, which is the Conway, the tier 9 TDs of the turreted line, which has either the choice of a 120 or a 130mm gun, so either you do 600 or 400 with one shot, if you shoot standard rounds. The Covenanter at tier 4 follows next, which is collectible now, has or had quite a good gun. Now it is absolutely terrible, just as many of the collectibles, so it was worth to have, but it isn't anymore, so sell it if you have it. After that we have the Cromwell, which is basically neglected to the fact that the Cromwell B is next. It is way better, it makes credits, or not way better, but it is pretty much similar. in some aspects better, but it makes more credits, so go for it if you can. It is a very nice tank. After that we have the Cruiser 1, which is funnily enough a tier 2, the Cruiser 2 being the tier 1, the Cruiser 3 being a tier 2, and the Cruiser 4 being a tier 3. Of course, not all of these are in the game anymore. Some of them are collectible, and some of them are very bad, so I don't recommend you to keep them. So better sell them to keep that Gary slot. After that we have the Crusader, which is quite a good tier 5. Actually, it is a light tank if it didn't got changed, otherwise it's a medium. Has no armor. The gun is quite nice though. The playstyle is quite similar to the Cromwells, but of course not quite. After that we have some Frenchies again. Starting with letter D, we have the D1, then we have the D2. They are tier 2 and 3 respectively. Both the D1 is I think a medium, and the D2 already a heavy tank. That got changed in the 5.5 update, by the way. Before they were light and medium. Then we have the third out of the 4 D tanks, which is the Dicker Max, the premium tier 6 German TD, which is a little bit similar to the Sture Immel at tier 7, because it has quite a lot of gun depression. It packs quite a punch for its tier with 300 alpha, or even more, I believe. And it has also a good amount of penetration though, no traverse speed, no top speed even, and no armor at all, so play it carefully. After that we have it was one of the best tier 4 tanks, but after the 5.5 it isn't anymore, and also a collectible, the DW2, which is a tier 4 German heavy tank, and it was very good because you could pretty much overwhelm any tier 4, and you could also win 1v6s quite easily in this thing. At least I saw it quite regularly happen, but not anymore, obviously. Starting with E, we now have the E100, which is the tier 10 German heavy tank, one of 3. And then we get to the E25, which is a whole lot different in playstyle and looking, because it is way smaller. It is a TD, it is at tier 7 and has no armor, an excellent gun though with excellent accuracy, aim time, DPM and camouflage as well. So play it on long range or as an assassin aggressively. Whatever you do, play it carefully, otherwise you will not enjoy it as much as you could be. After the E25 we have a very strong tier 9, which is the E50, which is a German tier 9 medium. As I said already, it has a 105mm with 350 alpha damage. It has okay penetration. I made a review about this tank, so why am I even talking about it? The E50M, the same, I just reviewed it some days ago. It is the tier 10 German medium tank. If you want to know more, check out my review. After that we have the E75, which is the tier 9 German heavy tank in the line of the E100. It is a very good side scraper with a 128mm gun that is gonna hurt if you aren't careful when playing against it. After that we get to the Edelweiss, which is a tier 7 hybrid nation tank, and I think the first one in this list. Not really much to say, as I'm not really knowing a lot about that tank. I think it's a heavy though. Oh no, it's a medium, sorry. The other one later is a heavy. Then we get to a heavy though, now, a tier 5 premium, which is the Excelsior of the British nation. It is nothing, it's quite similar to the Churchills actually, so I can't really say a lot about it now. So starting with F now, so not a lot of E's, we have the FCM 36 Pak 40, which was in one hell of a cheap offer. It's not worth though, as it is collectible. It is very slow, the reload is very bad because it's very long. It's like 12.5 seconds for 120 alpha, so I cannot really recommend it. But to say a little bit more, it's a tier 3 French TD. Then we have the FCM50T, which I can recommend though. But I also made a review, and not really a lot to talk about here other than it's medium, tier 8 French, quite good actually, with a little bit of armor. After that we have the Ferdinand, which is not really played a lot due to the power that the JP2 has, but it also has its treats because it has a little bit more armor than the JP. It is though very flat, very slow. It has the same gun. Yeah, that's all I can say to that actually. Then we have the FTAC, which is a collectible T2 French TD, which I don't know, it was quite bad. It's probably still is. So yeah. After that we have the Foch, the tier 9 French TD, which is quite powerful with its 120mm. The armor is very trollish, and even the cupolas can be, even though they are weak spots, you will bounce them occasionally. And of course, obviously now we get to the tier 10, the Foch 155, which has, as the name suggests, a 155, so it does a whopping 640 damage to you. It is comparable to the 268 in many ways, and kind of also sometimes in its playstyle. After that we have the Fury, which is basically just a tier 6 Sherman in premium with a skin, I think. After that we have another premium, the FV201A45. It is at tier 7, and I think it also was in the shop once or twice. It has a comparable gun to the Black Prince. I think even the same reload, though it has less armor in the hull but more in the turret. And it is quicker, I believe. After that we have the top dog of the heavy Blitz, which is the FV215B. Amazing gun, very good armor if you can use it effectively, otherwise you can get shit on quite easily. After that we have the Death Star. Don't think I need to say anything about that. And after that another crate tank, woohoo, the Badger, the FV217 Badger, the tier 10 British TD that is only yet been available in crates. After that we have also one of the newer additions to this game, the FV4005, which is a tier 10 British autoloading TD, I should add, with quite an impressive punch in its clip. I think it does around 12 to 1300 per clip on average. I don't know the exact numbers now. After that I think we have, for a little bit of time, the last British one, which is the FV4202, which is the medium of the British tech tree, the top one. It is comparable to the Centurion, though it has a hatch, quite a big one on top of the turret. It has pretty much the same gun, more mobility, though it has now whole armor, but the turret is a bit weaker therefore. So you win some, you lose some. Now going towards G, and starting with that we have the Gravedigger, which is the tier 7, which was in an event in one of the Mad Games seasons, I think, together with one other that we will be coming to a bit later. After that we have the Grill 15, which is a very good tier 10 German TD. Very backline playing usually because we have no armor. Very accurate gun, I think one of the accurate TDs in this game. The 640 Alpha has a little bit less penetration than the other TDs, but it is still very good and can also be played aggressively if you play it carefully enough. After that we have the Großtraktor, which is a tier 3 premium heavy of the Germans. Don't know when it was for sale last time and can't really tell you anything about it. After that we have the Hafen, another Blitz Nation tank at tier 7. It's a mediocre at best, I think, from what I've seen. After that we have the Hayo, the tier 1 Japanese light tank, which is having quite a lot of gun depression, I noticed, but not really a lot to talk about it because it's tier 1. After that we have of course, one of my favorite tanks in this game, the Hellcat. Tier 6 American tank. Made my first review about this tank. So yeah, not really worth checking it out because it's bad. But yeah, what can you say? It has no armor, though very good mobility, bad traverse speed, bad turret traverse speed. The gun is very nice in my opinion, though you can run out of ammo quite quickly. So be cautious with your shots. After that we have the Helsing HO or H0, I'm not quite sure. It is a tier 7 Blitz Nation tank with kind of an autoloader, though I wouldn't really call it. You just click once and shoot twice, so it's kind of a magazine, more like it. It is similar to the Hellcat, kind of. It has not a lot of armor, but more than the Hellcat. Though therefore it has less mobility. Yeah, that's all I can say about it. Then we have the Hetzer at tier 4 German TD, together with the Hetzer Carnival SP, which was in a Girls in Panzer event, I believe. I don't know, I wasn't playing at that time, so no idea there. You gotta tell me. After that we have the Indian Panzer, which is quite underrated, but a very strong tank. And yeah, I can recommend it. It's comparable to a CDC. The gun is similar, it has more armor though, and it is much more trollish. Though it is of course therefore a bit slower. But it's still a very good tank in my opinion, going towards the Leopard line. And now starting with some Russian steel, the Joseph Stalin tanks. The IS is the first, the tier 7 Russian one. Then after that comes of course the IS-2 tier 7 Chinese copy, which is the best Chinese copy in my opinion. And after that we have the IS-2 1945, which is another Russian tier 7 heavy, but it is a premium one. So yeah, just they are all played quite similar, all have a 1-2-2. Yeah, that's all really to say about them. They don't really have any differences between them, other than some minor probably. After that we have the IS-2 SH, which is a real turreted Russian tier 8 premium. Don't know when it was for sale the last time, but it is not that expensive, I believe. It is just a Russian heavy with the turret behind actually. You can sidescope very well with such. After that we have the infamous IS-3, very strong. One of the strongest tier 8 heavies in my opinion. After that the IS-3 Defender, just an IS-3 with a 3-shot autoloader basically. After that we have the IS-4, one of the most all-round or the best all-rounders at tier 10, with having good aspects in all regions and not really bad ones in any, but it is not horrendously good in any except for spamming heat and sidescrape, my opinion. After that we have one of the worst tier 8s, but not the worst, which is the IS-5. A horrendously bad aim time, accuracy. It's just bad. I cannot recommend it really, even for the price of 1,500. And if you want to sell it, don't do it, as it only gives 300,000 credits. After that we have the way better IS-6, which is also available in a different version, which is the IS-6 Fearless, which is one of the rarest tanks in this game, I believe. I think it's just an IS-6, but with a different skin. The statistics exactly the same, which is also the same for the T-34 and the Independence. Then we have the IS-7, which is the tier 10 Russian heavy tank, which is the worst of the two, in my opinion. It has not a good amount of penetration, but it's not atrocious either. The aiming time and accuracy are a bit lackluster, though. You have a little bit of turret armor, and your pike nose is quite strong if you can hold on well with it. So yeah, it is good in some aspects. And it's also, I think, quicker than the IS-4. After that we have the IS-8, which is the predecessor of the IS-7. It has a 420 alpha, I believe. So quite a new a rare gun to see. It has a good amount of penetration though. because it is basically an IS-4 gun. Not a lot of armor though, but it has a good mobility, and that's pretty much all I can say about the IS-8. After that, starting to get to some TDs, we have the ISU-122S, which is a tier 7 premium Russian TD. Basically an SU-152 with a 122mm, so can't really recommend it, but it makes some credits, so I don't know. After that we have the ISU-130, the tier 8 Russian premium TD, with a 130mm gun, and I think it even got buffed lately, so maybe you wanna try and take it out for a spin again. After that we have the ISU-152, arguably one of the best tier 8 TDs in my opinion, with a very strong penetration, 640 alpha, very good reload, quite a lot of speed on this thing as well, though of course you have no armor, so yeah, be careful with it. Then in between all these big TDs we have the Jackson, and yeah, the only American tank that starts with G actually, the tier 6 counterpart to the Hellcat. It has better DPM than the Hellcat, it has a little bit more armor than the Hellcat, though it is way slower, also has more ammo capacity though, so yeah, it's also a good tank choice. After that we have the second highest DPM tank in this game, which is the Yak Tiger, with a 128, very good accuracy and aim time, a lot of penetration for its caliber gun, and yeah, it is actually also quite traversable, so you're not that slow when getting circled. After that we have a little bit lower, but in the same tank line, the Yak Panzer IV, with a massive amount of DPM for its tier, though atrocious penetration and an engine that is damaged just by shooting the lower front plate. So all I can say, don't show your lower front plate or don't sit out in front of it, because it's gonna absolutely murder you in seconds. Then we have the big TD of that line, which is the Yak Panzer E100, with an 800 alpha damage, 170mm gun, quite a bit of armor as well. Not a lot of mobility though, which comes from the fact it has so much armor. And yeah, it's quite a trollish tank, I gotta say. After that we have again actually two pretty much the same tanks, which is the Yak 88 and then ones with the 2015 skin. They can pack different guns though the playstyle doesn't really differ. You just play it aggressively, in my opinion. Then we get to the Yak Panther, which is a very strong tier 7 TD, comparable to the AMX AC46, as I said earlier already in the video. It is very strong, the DPM is very good. It has a little bit of armor and even 8 degrees of gun depression, so you can even make that armor way better than it is already. Than it already is. Sorry. After that we then have the Yak Panther 2, which is one tier higher, has quite a bit more alpha damage and also mobility, and though it loses some armor, I think, at least that's what it feels like, but it's still one of the most, or of the more stronger tier 8 TDs. After that we have the K91, and the first one to start with K in this list, which is a tier 9 Russian auto-loading heavy tank. I think it was for sale only once, and I haven't really seen it in the game ever since, so it's quite a rare thing to see. It has a 310 alpha damage, so it has a maximum damage per clip of, or average, of 930, so it can still hurt you quite a bit if you don't pay enough attention. Then of course we get a little bit down in tier, and that is a drastic underestimation, which is the Kenny, the standard one at tier 3, the Japanese one. And of course, obviously then must follow the Kenny Otsu, which is the only tank in this game that I accept to be OP, because it has way too much DPM for its tier. And if anyone thinks there's any other tank that is OP, I will disagree. And I've stated that in a separate video already, which I may link at the end of this one. Who knows, if I remember. After that, we jump up in the tiers again to the Kampfpanzer 70, which was an event tank, I believe. It is a tier 9 German one with also a 128mm. At least it packs 460 alpha damage, so it can hurt you quite a bit, and it also got buffed a bit some patches ago, so it is a bit better now. So definitely pay attention when facing such a tank. After that, we have one of a newer tank, the Krupp 38D, which has, God knows why, so much frontal upper hull armor that an E50M can bounce it. So yeah, it's definitely worth a try if you have one of these, but I don't think it's available currently, so maybe you want to wait to get one, if you of course are a collector of tanks. Otherwise it's not recommended, as it's just tier 5. After that, we have the Kuro Morimine, which is another one of the Girls in Panzer trio. I think it was a trio. The other one following it in a little bit. It's a tier 6 Tiger basically, with less armor and a short 88. So it's still capable of doing some good shit. After that, we come to the tank, which I think is the best for a newcomer, the KV-1. Because it learns you quite a little bit of angling and such, so if you maybe are not the greatest in side scraping yet, get this tank, play it the hell out of it, and learn side scraping, because it's the best low tier side scraper you can get for free, in my opinion. After that, we have the highest tier tank that got made in 5.5 collectible, which is the KV-13, which was a very good tank. And it is sad that it got made collectible, since it also received quite a nerf and is now not so good anymore, sadly enough. But it was a tier 7 Russian medium. It was a way where you could go from the Russian mediums to the Russian heavies, and vice versa, if you wanted to. But it was actually not needed to ever play, so that's probably the reason it got removed. Then we have the KV-1S, which is a tier 6 Russian heavy tank with quite a big gun. I don't like it too much though, as the aim time and accuracy are quite unreliable, though it has a lot of mobility and not really a lot of armor though. Which means that the next tank, which is the KV-2, can one-shot it quite easily. And of course, coming to the KV-2, it's a KV-2, I don't need to explain that tank. Are we serious? After that, we have the KV-220T, or Beta Test T, I think, I don't know. It is a tier 5 Russian heavy tank, a premium one, which was only for sale once for, like, what, 5 euros, I believe? Or 8, I don't know. And it's basically a KV-3 hull with a stock KV-1 turret and a stock KV-1 gun. And yeah, think about what a tier 7 hull can do at tier 5, and you will want to have this tank if you feel like seal clubbing. And of course, already talking about it, here it comes, the KV-3, the tier 7 Russian heavy tank, which can equip a 122mm, though I want to mention here, I do not recommend you to get that gun, because it's shit. Let's face it. Better play the 100mm. It doesn't do a lot of damage per shot, but the DPM is better, your aim time is better, your accuracy is better, you don't lose any penetration. So yeah, it's a win-win situation. After that, we have the worst tier 8 in my opinion, the KV-4, absolutely horrendous. I've made a 1 hour special playing that tank live with a platoon mate, so if you want to see a little bit about this tank, watch that video, but it's bad, so skip it if possible. After that, we have KV-5, which is the Russian tier 8 or another one, premium heavy tank with a T150's gun, so not a lot of penetration depending on what gun you use, because it has a choice of taking 2 different guns. It has quite a bit of armor though, and also a little bit of speed, so if you go downhill and you have the ability to ram your enemy as often and as good as you can. After that we have the Le Capace M41 90mm, or as I call it, the Black Dog, which is a very powerful tier 8 German light tank, having a unique alpha damage of 240. No idea why it's the only tank with 240 alpha damage, but it has. And whilst we are at that, actually, the KV4 also has a unique alpha damage of 320 instead of 310. Don't know why that is the case. I may ask why I'm gaming. Maybe some of you that are watching until this point have an idea, but I don't. After that we get to some more Germans with tier 5 Leopard. It got also hit by the 5.5 update, so it's not as good as it used to be, because it was a wet dream for all CA clubbers. After that we have one of my favorite tier 10s, the Leopard one, with I don't think I need to talk about this tank. It's very nice, it's very sexy looking. It is strong, though it needs to be played very carefully. And with very carefully, I mean very carefully. After that we have its predecessor, the PTA. One of the tanks you never want to play stock and with 75% crew, because holy shit is it atrocious. But once it's fully upgraded, it's an amazing tier 9 medium and one of the better ones you can have. After that we have one gift tank, if you want to call it that. It is a tank that got gifted to players. I don't know when it was, but to everyone. It is the Light Vic. It is a tier 2 British auto-loading light tank. Not really good after the 5.5 as any other low tiers, so cannot recommend it, but yeah, it is in this list. After that is the Locust, the tier 3 light tank of the American nation, also a premium. Then we followed up with the Lorraine 40T, a 4-shot tier 8 French medium with 225 alpha damage, so it has quite a bit of clip potential, so be careful when sitting in front of this tank, because it is gonna hurt you. But of course, if you have a big gun, shoot HE and you're gonna hurt it, because it has no armor whatsoever. After that we have one of the strongest tier 8 heavy tanks in my opinion, which is the Löwe. It does very good credits. It has a very great gun with good armor. It is also quite strong in hold down, as the turret armor is quite trollish. And yeah, that's all it needs to say about it. Then we have another premium Sherman with just another skin, I think. The Losas Sherman, also at tier 6 and from the Americans. After that we have the LTP, a premium tier 3 light tank. As the name says, LTP light tank. Don't know what the P stands for. Anyway, I think it also got hit a little bit from the 5.5, and I'm not sure if it's premium still or if it is already collectible, so can't remember. After that follows the LTTB, which is a tier 7 very quick light tank with quite an interesting gun with little to no gun depression if you use the very long one. But it is very fast, it has quite some armor for a light tank at its tier. So yeah, you can do some bullying with it actually. After that comes a tank that is the only one that was added in 5.5, which is the LTVZ38, which is a tier 2 Chinese tank. No idea what that tank is, honestly. It is basically like a Panzer 35T from the Germans, which is also in the list later on. Then we have another one of the tier 4 tanks that got hit so much by the 5.5, which is the Lux. It was very good, it had a very nice clip, very good mobility, a tier 4 German light tank. Now it's not even close to what it used to be though, unfortunately. At least for those that loved it quite a bit. Then we come to the last tank I have on this list with L, starting with L, which is the Lupus, a tier 7 Blitz Nation tank with quite a big amount of gun depression. I cannot remember exactly, but I think it was over 10. It has little to no gun elevation though, so if you are above an Lupus, use that to your advantage. It has a very insane armor profile with a big 400 alpha damage gun, so yeah, it can be dangerous but also outplayed quite easily. And after that, following another 400 alpha damage gun, and the first one starting with M is the M103, which is a tier 9 American heavy tank that uses a 122mm, has a big old hatch on top of his turret, but anyway, it is not as easy to hit and the turret armor is quite strong on it. With not a lot of hull armor though, this tank can be killed quite easily as long as it's not in a very strong position. After that, following is the tier 1 American light tank, which is the M2 light, and after that following is the M3 medium, which got made collectible and is not accessible anymore. It's a tier 3 American medium, and it actually, I don't quite remember the number, but if you have it, check it, over the back of your tank, 20 degrees of gun depression. I don't know why that is, but it's amazing, if it still has the little howitzer gun though. With that it was possible. Then following that, or was following, was the M3 Lee, which is now also a collectible, which was quite a fun tier 4 actually. I at least enjoyed it. And with that follows the M3 Light, which is the current tier 3 American light tank. And after that comes the M3 Stewart, which is the tier 2 tank of the American branch. And yeah, for those two, I think they use autoloaders, or one of them is even a collectible. I cannot remember quite exactly, but yeah, they are not really armored and weak guns, so low tier. After that follows the M4, which is the tier 5 American tank, a medium that was quite enjoyable with its dub gun, but it got removed I believe, so you only can play it with an 75mm or something. But it's still quite a good tank. Not really a lot of armor, but yeah. Then after that follows another light tank of the American branch, which is the M41 Bulldog, a tier 7 one with either the choice of an auto-loading free clipper or a single shot that fires every 4 seconds. The choice is yours. After that we follow with the tier 9 medium, which is the M46 pattern, and after that comes the M48 pattern on this list immediately after, the tier 9 and 10 respectively, both with quite good guns actually, very good hold down capacities, though the tier 9 one lacks in comparison due to having pretty much no turret armor. After that we get to the M4A1 Raviolis, which is a tier 8 premium French medium tank with quite an interesting gun, either having 310 or 350 alpha damage, and quite a little bit of mobility, not really any armor, and yeah, nothing really more to say about it. It's just an M4 chassis basically with a big gun. After that we have a tier 5 premium that is rarely seen on the battlefield, an M4A2E4. After that follows the Sherman Jumbo, which is the M4A3E2, which then gets followed by the Easy 8, which is the M4A3E8, which are both tier 6 mediums of the American branch, though only one is now playable due to the fact that one of them got made collectible, and I think it was the Easy 8, though I'm not quite sure. After that we get to see the M5A1 Stuart, which is the Chinese try of a Stuart tank on a tier 4, and it's actually not half bad with quite some mobility and DPM. You can cruise around a little bit with it. And with that follows the M5 Stuart, that is the current tier 3 light tank with, I believe, is it a 2 or 3 shot autoloader? I cannot remember. But also here, not really a lot of armor, and not worth to play for quite a bit. And after that follows one of the worst tier 6s, which is the M6 in my opinion. Following it up with the M60, which was a pop-up sale for some players for €100, which is quite insane, but it's a tier 10 premium tank. So yeah, think what you will about the price tag. After that we get to the M6A2E1 and the M6A2E1 Experimental, which are the tier 7 and tier 8 American premium tanks respectively, which the tier 8 was in an event which some of you may or may not have completed. Both of them have very good frontal armor and turret armor, but they are quite huge, so you cannot really hide behind anything, and the side armor are very weak and easily achievable by most tanks. And yeah, that's all to say about them. Then we have the M7, which got moved down a tier in update 5.5, so it's bad again. Not worth playing it for quite a bit, or for too long, so yeah, if you have it finished, sell it. At least that's my opinion, of course. Then we have the M8A1, which is the tier 4 TD of the American branch. And after it lost its good gun, it only has a 120 alpha damage, I believe. So it's not the greatest anymore, at least. Then we have the Martyr 2, which got also removed and made collectible in update 5.5, and is atrocious now and not enjoyable to play. After that we got another tank that got changed in update 5.5, which is the Matilda. But it didn't got made collectible or anything. It got changed from a medium tank to a heavy tank, and it also received an armor buff, I believe. Though therefore its gun had to suffer a little bit. After that follows the try of a Russian version of it at tier 5, which is the Matilda 4. And with that also follows the Matilda Black Prince, which is a tier 5 British premium. And then we get to the almighty and well-known Mouse, which I don't think I need to talk about. After that follows the Moisian, which is the predecessor of the Mouse. Then we get to the Medium 2 and Medium 3, which are tier 2 and 3 tanks respectively, but they both got removed with update 5.5 and are not playable and not enjoyable anymore. And to the last tank at the letter M, we have the MK1 Star Heavy Tank, which was in an event that I have no clue about because I didn't participate, but it was a tier 1 British tank, a heavy tank, and yeah, that's all I know really about it. Then we get to the Nameless, which is a tier 7 Hybrid Nation heavy tank with, I think, 225 alpha damage or 310, one of the two. Has a little bit of mobility and is only one of 2 tanks starting with N. The other one is the Nashorn at tier 6, a German tank destroyer with basically no armor, but a very impressive gun, and it leads up to the Gorilla. Next one on the list, and starting with O, is the O47, which is a tier 8 premium of the Hybrid Nation, which packs like 100 shells. and it is quite small though. It has an interesting armor profile. It is a medium tank, if I didn't say that yet. And it has a 90mm with good penetration, good mobility, and yeah, average gun stats. After that follows the tier 10 Russian medium tank, the 140, which is followed up by the Object 252U at tier 8, which is a tier 8 Russian premium heavy tank with yeah, it's basically an IS-3 taking steroids, so no need to talk more about it. After that we have the Object 263 and Object 268, which are both tier 10 Russian TDs, both very good in their own playstyle, one a bit less aggressive than the other, but very great tanks. And the last one, starting with O, is the Object 704, which is the one before the 268 and is at tier 9. Also, the 704 has the very great gun, otherwise also known as the BL10, with a whopping amount of penetration, like 286 if I believe, at AP with 640 alpha damage, not half bad DPM as well. Excuse me for the pauses, by the way, I just need to regularly drink something because my throat is getting a bit sore. But yeah, let's keep on moving. Now we get to letter P, and starting with that we have the Panther. And after that the Panther 2, both at tier 7 and 8, very good tanks in their own kind. Though the Panther 2 is a little bit under... how you say it? It's underestimated, but it can be still very good in capable hands. And the Panther 88, which follows soon after, or not soon, but immediately after, is basically a premium Panther 2. It doesn't really differ quite a bit. It is actually pretty much similar. And then we get to the cosplay Panther, the Panther M10, which is the American try of making a Panther, but in Blitz, still in the German tech tree, and it's a tier 7. So see it as a Panther with an E25 gun, and you get the Panther M10. After that you have the Panzer 58, which does not possibly say anything to anyone, but it's also known as the Mutz. And it's a tier 8 version, premium tank version of the Indian Panzer, also of the German tech tree, and it's a medium as well. After that the Pershing, the tier 8 American medium tank, also quite underwhelming I think, with not too good penetration, the mobility is not that good, the armors, I don't know, like luster, only the turret really, though you have a little bit of gun depression. And yeah, that's all I can say about the tank, as I have not played it yet. Following that up is the Predator UM, which is a tier 7 hybrid nation tank, also available from an event and I think in the store once or twice. It has an autoloader, a free shot, it's a heavy tank, I think I said that already. But yeah, that's all really there is to say about it. And now we get to all the German Panzers there are, which is starting the Panzer II at tier 1, then the Panzer II-G at tier 3, the Panzer II-J at tier 3, the Panzer III at tier 3, the Panzer III-4 at 5, the Panzer 35T at tier 2, the Panzer 38NA at tier 2, oh no, sorry, the Panzer 38H at tier 2, the Panzer 38NA at tier 4, the Panzer 38T at tier 3, the Panzer 3A at tier 3, which was available or gotten by everyone in the birthday event, the Panzer 4A, the Panzer 4 Anko SP, which is the third in the Girls and Panzer trio. Then we have the Panzer 4D, the Panzer 4G, the Panzer 4 Hydrostat, the Panzer 4 Schmalturm at tier 6, the Panzer 5-4 at tier 5, the Panzer B2 at tier 4, the Panzer S35 at tier 3, the Panzerjäger 1 at tier 2, and the Panzer SFL 4C, or also known the Death Toaster, at tier 5. And maybe, possibly, someone is wondering, why didn't I say anything to these tanks? That's mostly because they are not really viable to the game, because most of them are collectible, some of them are premium, some of them you can't get anymore, and the others are just not worth to talk about. Then coming to the letter R, we only have 3 tanks, starting with the tier 1 French one, the R35. Following that up with the Ram 2, which is currently in the shop, I believe, at the time of recording this. And then we have the standard tier 8 German tactical light tank, which is the RG251, which is overall a very great tank, good mobility, great gun, and very good camouflage, no armor though. So, as said in many other tanks, play it carefully. After that follows the first tank with the letter S, and one of the tanks I enjoyed the most at tier 5, the S35CA, which is the French tier 5 turretless tank destroyer with quite an interesting gun with a 90mm, I believe. No armor though, good mobility, good reverse speed, and quite an interesting gun arc as well. After that is the tier 4 tank, which is a whole lot worse than the tier 5, which is the South 40 or Samoa 40, I think is the long name. Not really a lot to talk about since it's ugly and bad. And then we get to the Scavenger, which was together with the Gravedigger available to win in one Mad Games event, if I remember correctly. After that follows the Sherman 5, which was, or is, a tier 5 British medium tank, and as the name suggests, it's a Sherman copy, another one. And following that up, we have the Sherman Firefly, which is basically just a Sherman with a Comet or Cromwell gun, but it's actually not half bad, so it's worth to give a try, as it also leads on to the new turreted British tank destroyers. After that follows one of the most wanted tanks, the Scorpion G, a very powerful German tier 8 tank destroyer, premium with a 128mm, no armor whatsoever, but very good reload and other gun stats as well, and it has a good amount of camouflage as well. After that follows the tier 7 version of the KV2, which is the Smasher, and that says pretty much all about the tank. Then we get the SP1C, which is like the most not wanted to play tank when you see a Dracula in the enemy team, for obvious reasons. Following that up is a completely different tank though, with the ST1 or STI. I see it as the ST1, you may see it different. Let's keep it that way. It's the tier 9 tank leading on to the IS-4. It has quite a good amount of armor. The mobility is lackluster, obviously, but the gun is also quite nice and not half bad. And you even have a little bit of gun depression to work ridgelines, to use also your very good turret armor. After that we get 2 more Japanese tanks, which are the STA-1 and the STB-1, which are both very good hold-on tanks for their tier, with the STB having some armor at least, whilst the STA has not. So yeah, play them on ridgelines, use your DPM to the most. After that we have the Sture Immel, which is pretty similar to the Dicker Max that we talked earlier already. And it is the tier 7 regular tank destroyer of the Griller line, and it is actually quite fun to play if you know how. It has a 460 alpha damage gun with a good amount of penetration as well, though only having AP and HE rounds, which is interesting to note here. And also quite a limited shell capacity. Following that up is the STRV-74A2, which is another tank of the Blitz Nation, or for those who are playing World of Tanks, you know that it is a Swedish tier 6 auto-loading premium It has a 3-shot autoloader, though not even anywhere near to having any gun depression. It has no armor. The gun stats are okay, but the mobility is not the greatest either. And so, with that medium done, let's get to quite a bit of TDs here. Starting with the Stock 3, which is a German tier 5 TD, which is kind of comparable to an E25. And that's all there is to say. Basically, it's an E25 on tier 5, and it's a non-premium. Following that up, we have the SU100, then the SU1M1, 100M1, the SU100Y, the SU101, the SU12244, the SU12254, the SU152, the SU76, the SU76I, the SU85 and the SU85I, and the last one of the SUs, the SU85B. Also, to those tanks I don't really need to say a lot because they are well known to most of the Blitz community, and many have already started or played these tanks, so yeah, that's all there is to say. And now to probably the letter with the most tanks it starts with, which is the T. Let's go ahead. The T110E3, T110E4 and the T110E5 are the first one to mention in this list, which are all top tier American tanks, all in tier 10, which are a turretless TD, a turreted TD and a heavy tank, in that same order. Not really need to talk anything about it. The E3 has a good amount of frontal armor, the E4 has not, therefore has the turret though, and the E5 is just overall a very good all-round tank. After that we're following it up with a T127, which is a Russian light tank at tier 3, and it's either premium or collectible. And yeah, it's basically like an LTP, but with, I guess, worse gun but better armor, I remember. After that we get the T14, which is absolutely not recommendable as a tier 5 American heavy tank, which then gets followed by the T15, which is a tier 3 German light tank, a premium one. After that follows a T150, which got made collectible as it is and was a very bad tier 8, not tier 8, sorry, tier 6 Russian heavy tank, and not really enjoyable to play, and that's all I really want to say about this tank. Then we have the T18, which was quite unique before it got nerfed after 5.5. It's a tier 2 American collectible tank destroyer. Then we have a pop-up again that happened for just some players. I don't think I had one. For the T1E6, it's a tier 4 tank, I believe. I'm not quite sure. It's somewhat looking like an M4 with a different gun. Then we have the T1 Heavy, which is basically an M6, just smaller. After that we follow with a T20, which is a tier 7 medium tank of the Americans, which is having pretty much the gun that a Hellcat and an M6 use, so your typical American 160mm 240 alpha damage gun, or well, in Blitz stats that is 225. Then we have the T21, which is now also collectible and not accessible anymore, which was a tier 6 American light tank. It is basically a T20 but lighter in that sense. Then we have the T22 medium, which is a tier 10 collectible tank, and it is until now only been gettable if you wanted to pay hundreds of euros, and not as good as many people call it to be. Well, I'm not going to say about this tank. After that follows the T23E3, which is basically a premium Comet, just worse, and American. Then we have a German tier 5 premium medium tank, which is the T25. It's mediocre at best in most cases. That follows with the T-25-2, which is not a German, as the name would suggest. It is an American Tier 7 tank destroyer with a turret. It is the tank that follows after the Hellcat, and it is very good actually, with quite a lot of DPM, an accurate gun. The turret traverses a bit slow, you have no armor, and very accurate with a hell quick aim time, I gotta say. After that follows a better version though, the T-25-80, which is the non-turreted tank, in the non-turreted tank line, also at tier 7 of the Americans. It has a 310 alpha damage, so comparable to a Yak Panther. It has quite a good mobility, good frontal armor, a little bit of gun depression, and yeah. Then we go on with the T-26, which is completely different to tanks before, as it is the tier 1 Russian light tank of that tech tree. Going ahead after that, we have the Super Pershing, otherwise known as the T-26E4, which is a tier 8 premium and way better than the Pershing. Probably that's the reason why it's called Super Pershing. Good amount of armor, a heck load of spaced armor in the tank, and if you don't know where to shoot, you're having a big load of trouble, so better learn it. After that we have the T-28, the American tier 8 turret-less tank destroyer, which packs 400 alpha damage, a little bit of frontal armor, as it becomes worthless if your enemy has enough penetration. Not really any mobility, as the traverse is also very slow. And yeah, that's all there is to say about it. After that we have the T-28 Defender, which is basically a T-28 prototype with a 3-shot magazine. Then we have the T-28 HTC, which is currently in the shop. It's quite a strong T-7 tank destroyer with no turret, of the Americans as well. And from what I've seen, if a player is capable to use the armor effectively, you're not gonna be penetrating it really, unless you spam very high penetration rounds at it. After that we have the T-28 model 1940, a tier 4 collectible from the Russians. It's a medium tank. It was originally the tank that will lead on to the KV-1, but that's not the case anymore. After that we have the standard T-28 prototype, which features no autoloader though. It has a turret, which is already giving it a huge advantage over the standard T-28. Though the gun is the same, the mobility is worse though, and you don't have a fully traversable turret either. You have like 60 degrees that you cannot turn, which is all behind your turret. And after that we have the T-29, which is a very strong hold down tank at tier 7, also one of the Americans, with 310 alpha damage, a good reload, good penetration, nothing to complain about that tank. After that we have a tier 2 American light tank, which is the T2 light, which then is followed by a tier 2 medium, which is collectible though, tier 2 medium. The name says it all. After that we came to tier 9 again, with the T30 that is basically a T34 or a T29 with a way bigger gun, and a little bit more turret armor as well. But still quite a weak hull. After that we have the T32, which is the tier 8 tank of the T110E5 line. After that we have the T34, which is basically a T30 with a 120mm and premium 1 tier lower. After that we have another T34, though that is the tier 5 Russian medium tank, with a quick shot gun, good penetration and good DPM, and yeah, that's all there is really to say about it. And after that comes the T34-1, which is the Chinese tier 7 medium tank, which has a, I think 100mm, a good amount of turret armor, good mobility, The gun is a bit inaccurate at times though, so yeah. After that follows the T-34 1776, which is the T-34 with an independent skin. So yeah, if you have the T-34, don't buy that, not worth. Then you have the T-34-2, which is the tier 8 of the Chinese medium line, that has the not the chance, but the possibility to take a 122mm, so it can hurt quite a bit. After that we have the T-34-2GFT, which is the tier 7 of the Chinese TDs. Don't really know much about them as I have not even started that line. But I know that TD packs a 400 alpha damage, so I guess you can play it similar to an SC12244. After that follows the T-34-3, which is basically a T-34-2 but premium. Or if you want to be exact, it is a Type 59 with a 122mm, as they feature pretty much the same hole and turret. Then we get to the T-34-85, the standard one, at tier 6. Very good medium, I can definitely recommend you getting that. After that, the T-34-85 Rudy at tier 7, basically just a buffed T-34-85. And then the T-34-85 Victory, which is just a T-34-85, also at tier 6 with, I think, just some minor differences, but I'm not too sure about that. After that we have the old T6 American light tank, now a collectible, the T-37, or is it? I can't remember. Which is not really a good tank in my opinion, so yeah. Now after that comes the T-40, which is a collectible tier 4 American tank destroyer with quite a big gun arc. It had an interesting playstyle, but as it is collectible, it's now banned, so not recommended. After that we have the T-43, which is basically the same as a Rudy, just with more DPM, and I think even a little bit more armor, though less mobility. Then we have the T-44, which is basically a standard Type 59, so I also need to talk about it. Which is the same for the T-44-100, which is the same, though it is a tier 8 premium that was accessible in an event and sometimes in the shop. And yeah, it even has side skirts over the T-44, so it can bounce a little bit on its side armor as well. After that we have a T-46, which was another one of the Sea Clubber's wet dreams, but that got destroyed heavily after the 5.5 update, and it's now absolutely bad. And after that we have one of the most fun tanks to play probably in this game, the T-49, which is a tier 8 KV2, basically, just with the mobility of a boulder. And after that, of course, now follows the T-49A, which was I don't think I need to explain it, do I? I guess everyone should know about it, if you are still so long in this video. After that we have the T-54, then the T-54E1, both tier 9 mediums of the nation Russia and America, respectively. The T-54 is quite a strong tier 9 medium with quite a versatile playstyle. The T-54E1 though features an autoloader and not a lot of armor, so you need to be careful playing it. After that follows the T-54 Lightweight, which, as it says, it's a lighter version of the T-54 and the tier 8 light. After that the T-54-1, which is a tier 8 premium Russian medium with quite a lot of armor for its tier. The gun, not that bad, it's worth it if you can afford it. After that follows another Blitz Nation tank at tier 9, T-55A, which is, in my opinion, just the worst T-54 because its turret armor is way weaker, its hull is way weaker. You just gain a little bit of extra gun stats and range, I believe. It's not really. After that follows the T57 Heavy at tier 10, which is basically a T54E1, just better. And after that it is a T62A. I think I also don't need to talk about that too much, as it is basically just how's it called? Come on. 140 with a bit different, like you get one less degree of gun impression, one more turret armor, etc. You know the drill. After that we have the T67, which was tier 5 American tank destroyer. Now it is collectible. It features a fully traversable turret though, so that is quite nice. After that we have the T69, which also got buffed recently, same as the E1 and the 57 Heavy at tier 9 with an autoloader, at tier 8, excuse me. After that we have a fan favorite, the T6 Dracula at tier 7, and a tank I don't really want to talk about either. Then we have another pop-up tank. Wait, why is this here? Excuse me, I think I've made a mistake. Or did I? No, okay, I just made a mistake myself, I guess. My mind was a bit ahead of what I was saying. So now coming is the T6E1, which is a pop-up tank. Basically an M4 just with a different gun. Wait, I did say that already. Oh, whatever. Then we have the T70-57, which is a tier 3 Russian light tank. And also one of the rarest, as it only was in the shop once, I believe. Yeah. Then follows the T71, which is a tier 7 American autoloader, and a very strong one nonetheless. So if you can get your hands on one, definitely grab one, as they are very powerful in my opinion. After that follows another gift tank, I believe, the T7 car, which is basically a light Vic, just American, so also bad and not worth playing. After that we have another tank that got hit very hard by the 5.5 patch, which is the T82, tier 3 collectible American tank destroyer that had featured a howitzer with a very big caliber. Now it lost it and it is just back. And after that comes the Doom Turtle, the T95 at tier 9 TD, and I guess the name Doom Turtle says it all. After that follows a T95E2, which is basically a 59 pattern but American. And with that we come to the latest crate tank, which is the T95E6, a tier 10 American, an E5 with cupola, basically, in my opinion. And after that we come to the Tankenstein, which I don't quite remember if it is a Blitz Nation, but it anyway is a tier 7 heavy tank with also a gun choice, whether you want to use a very big one that is kind of like the style of an SU-100Y, or just a normal one that is more reliable, but that is also up to your choice in that regard. After that we have the Tetrarch, which is a tier 2 Russian lights, I believe. It is either collectible or premium though, so, and because it's low tier, it's not really worth it. After that follows one of the most loved tank historically, the Tiger one, though it is very lackluster in this game in terms of its armor, though the gun makes up for it as it is very impressive. That is followed by the Tiger 141, which is basically a Kuromine, Morimina, and That's exactly the thing, because it's just a different skin. A 6 Tiger with a short 88. After that follows a Tiger P, or Tiger Porsche, or Porsche Tiger, which looks a bit different, plays a bit different, but in reality it's kind of the same tank with just more armor, but I guess you lose some gun stats, I believe. After that comes the good old Tok, the boat, and we get a little bit closer to the end. And as the Tok is a meme on its own, I don't think I need to really say anything about it. After that comes the Tortoise, the third best DPM in this game, after the Yak Tiger, with a very amazing gun, also able to shoot hash, so you can even make your DPM go even crazier. Though, as it's part of the AT series, you have no turret, no mobility, but quite a bit of frontal armor, though also quite a lot of weak spots. After that we get to some types, so that shouts China and Japanese. And starting it off, we have the Type 58 on tier 6, which is basically a copy of the T-34-85. Then we get to the Type 59, which we've talked about already kinda in comparison. Then the Type 61, which is a tier 9 Japanese medium tank, which got buffed recently even. I think it got a little bit more reload and accuracy, or a slower, or a quicker reload, sorry. After that we have a Type 62, which is from the Chinese again. It is a tier 7 premium that is quite strong with its premium rounds, so yeah. Be careful when playing against it, as if you have good armor, it will just swag heat into you, most likely. After that we have a Type 64, which is also Chinese, though on tier 6, and it plays quite similar to something like a T-37 or a Chewy. And the last one from the Type series, we have the Type T-34, which is a T-34. It's exactly the same, I think, or close to be at least, just Chinese. Now to the two only tanks in this game that start with U, at least from those that I could find. The UC2 PDR, which is a collectible tier 2 British tank destroyer, was quite bad and is even worse now. And the other one being the UE57, which was quite unique since it looked so small and cute, you know. A tier 3 collectible French light tank. And after that we have the Vea Type B, which is the tier 1 Chinese light tank. Following that up we have the Valentine 2, the Valentine AT, the Valentine MK9, all of which are kinda bad in their own right. Then we have the Vindicator UM, a tier 7 Blitz Nation tank destroyer with the choice of 2 different heats and HG, as it features a 150mm or something like that, or 152, something along those lines. And after that let's get to the VK series, which starts with the VK101P, a tier 8 German heavy tank with a shit ton of armor, a very big gun. It got nerfed quite a lot actually, so no one really plays it too often now, but yeah, it's still a good tank. After that, another tank that got nerfed the hell out of itself, and the favorite tank of one of my best friends, the VK2001, a tier 6 German light tank, and yeah, not really a lot to talk about. Then we have the VK3001D, a tier 8, a tier 6 German medium tank. Then we have a VK3001H, which is at tier 5, a VK3001P at tier 6, the VK3002D at tier 7, the VK3002M at tier 6, the VK3601H at tier 6, and most of these are made collectible or bad, so I don't really need to say anything about them. But the next one is quite interesting, the VK4502A, as it got buffed recently in one of the latest patches, as it received a little bit more armor. It has a 130 alpha damage gun with 203 penetration, so not the greatest for tier 8, but it's workable, and it has quite some speed, I gotta say, and you can side scrape a little bit with it. And the next one, which follows directly after, which is also, you know that from the name, the VK4502B, which interestingly enough has its turret backwards, just like the IS-2SH. The IS-2SH, and yeah, has a bigger gun, more armor, and is just slower overall. Then we have a premium at tier 7, the VK4503, which was already quite a lot in the shop, I gotta say. They really want to get that tank out there. After that we have the VKK, or the full name, the VK7201K, the top dog of that line, with a 640 alpha damage. It is kinda like a VKB with an E100 gun and just more armor. Then going to the Ws, we got the Wolverine at tier 5, the Waffle Tractor or the Waffenträger auf Panzer 4 at tier 9, and that introduces us now to the WZ series. So listen carefully to the numbers, because they are very similar. Starting off, we have the WZ110 or the 110, which is a tier 8 heavy tank, the standard one in the line, which features 100mm. It looks pretty much the same as a Russian heavy tank, just its pike nose is way bigger, meaning its lower glaciers is way easier to access. That makes it even stronger in hold down situations though, so be careful. After that we have the WZ111, which is a tier 8 premium Chinese heavy tank. And soon after that follows the WZ11114, which is the tier 9 on the tech tree of the Chinese heavies, which is basically just an overgrown WZ110 with a bigger gun, a bigger or a longer tank, just made smaller now, and no pike nose. And after that we have a TD again, which is the WZ1111GFT, which is the tier 8 standard TD, if I recall correctly, with like a 460 alpha damage gun. Which after that comes the WZ111GFT, which is the tier 9 TD of that line. After that we have the WZ1122, which is another tier 8 premium heavy. And after that we have the WZ113, which is probably the most known and most wanted to get tank in this whole entire line, as it's the tier 10 top tank. Very good gun, very nice playstyle as well, and overall it is also very strong. After that we come to the tier 10 TD of the Chinese, which is the WZ113GFT, which is then being followed by the WZ120, which is the tier 9 medium tank on the Chinese tech tree. And this one is followed by the WZ121FT, the WZ120 1FT, which is the tier 8 premium TD, if I recall correctly, which has then been followed by the WZ121, which is the tier 10 medium tank on the Chinese tank tree, and the last one that we have not mentioned yet, which is then the last one of the WZ series, basically the WZ131GFT, which is a tier 6 TD. Don't really know anything about it, as nothing really is coming to my mind. And the last W is the WZ Blaze, which is a tier 7 Blitz Nation TD with a 400 alpha gun. Not a fully traversable turret, it's kinda like a mini grill, I think, just way slower. So yeah. And the last ones on this list are the tanks that got introduced recently, which are the year 5 tanks. And starting with that is the year 5 ELC Biz at tier 7, the year 5 Firefly at tier 6, and the year 5 T34. And that's it for this list. Obviously I didn't got all the tanks, as I missed some, which I said earlier. Also, I'm gonna say it again because I can't remember if I said it at the end, since at the start, since we are 1 hour 40 in. The reason I made this video basically is because I have planned it for a little bit already to make it, because it sounds like a weirdly stupid idea and no one would ever do it. So I was like, hey, I'm stupid enough to do it. And since Wargaming had some issues and I didn't want to play during the issue time, I just felt like, hey, let's do something, and so I made it now. And so I hope you enjoyed it and that you can appreciate the time I put into this, because it took me some hours to just collect all the tank names, then sort them, and yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. This was it from me. I'm going to put my I'm going to put something at the end, I can't remember what it was, and some statistics, how much tanks are starting with what letters and such, and so yeah. This was it from me, I hope you enjoyed it, and see you all again next time. Bye bye!